Your prefrontal cortex literally severs its signal to your motor cortex when true stillness hits. It feels like paralysis, but it is actually a biological override that funnels raw nervous system control straight into the void. You have felt it before. In the quiet hours before dawn. In the sudden gap after a heavy conversation ends. We call it emptiness. We treat it as a threat. We rush to fill it with noise, with motion, with the endless scroll of borrowed lives. But the ancient thinkers knew what modern science is only now confirming. The void is not a lack. It is a reservoir. We spend our days building walls against silence. We stack schedules like bricks. We armor our minds with tasks. We believe productivity is the cure for the quiet. Yet the more we build, the more fragile the structure becomes. When a wall cracks, panic follows. When a schedule breaks, identity fractures. Why do we fear the empty space? Because we confuse stillness with death. We mistake the pause for an end. But the pause is where the breath returns. I will share something I have kept hidden for years. I once sat in complete quiet for 3 days. Not as a retreat, not as an experiment, as a surrender. And what I found in that hollow place was not absence. It was architecture. A hidden foundation waiting for the weight to be removed. We will come back to this in a moment. But first, understand what we are really discussing. The ancients did not worship the noise. They studied the gap between notes. Marcus Aurelius stood on frozen riverbanks in Carnuntum, surrounded by marching boots and imperial demands. The empire required answers. The legions required direction. Yet his journals reveal a man who deliberately carved out silence. He did not seek it for comfort. He sought it for clarity. He wrote to himself in the dark, stripping away the titles, the victories, the expectations. What remained was a man standing on solid ground. The void was not his enemy. It was his anchor. When you remove the ornament, you reveal the stone. When you strip the echo, you hear the voice. This is the core truth we have lost. We fill our lives to avoid feeling the shape of our own minds. We treat emptiness as a wound to be bandaged with distraction. But the bandage suffocates. The wound needs air. The mind needs space to breathe. Seneca, exiled to Corsica, faced years of isolation. He lost his library. He lost his political voice. He lost the familiar rhythms of Rome. What did he do? He did not weep for the lost noise. He mapped the quiet. He wrote that hardship reveals what comfort hides. The empty years forced him to meet himself. And that meeting changed everything. He stopped chasing external validation. He started building internal fortitude. The void did not break him. It forged him. Look at your own life in 2026. The screens glow like campfires. The notifications pulse like heartbeats. You carry 1,000 voices in your pocket. You swipe to avoid the quiet room. You listen to podcasts to avoid the silent walk. You schedule every hour to avoid the unstructured evening. This is not living. This is fleeing. You run from the very space that could save you. The modern world profits from your fear of the empty. It sells you noise. It monetizes your restlessness. It tells you that stillness is wasted time. But wasted time is only wasted when you measure it in output. Measure it in depth instead. When you sit without agenda, the mind stops performing. It stops defending. It stops pretending. The layers peel back. You see the raw material beneath the habits. You notice which fears are borrowed. You notice which desires are inherited. The emptiness acts like clear water. It shows the bottom of the pool. We will return to the mechanism of this shift. But notice how you react right now. A subtle urge to check your phone. A quiet itch to move. A sudden memory you would rather avoid. That is the armor speaking. That is the old habit fighting for survival. Breathe through it. Let it pass. The void will not swallow you. It will hold you. How do you work with this space? You do not conquer it. You invite it. First, choose 1 hour each day for unstructured silence. Not meditation. Not journaling. Just sitting. Let the thoughts arrive. Let them leave. Do not follow them. Do not judge them. You are the room, not the furniture. Second, practice negative space observation. Walk without headphones. Look at the sky instead of the screen. Notice the gaps between buildings. Notice the pauses between words in a conversation. The world is built on intervals. The music lives in the rests. Third, when anxiety rises, do not reach for a solution immediately. Let the question hang in the air. Ask yourself what is actually missing. Usually, it is not a thing. It is attention. You are looking outward for what must be cultivated inward. The void teaches patience. It teaches discernment. It teaches that not everything needs to be filled. Which one resonated more with your current life? The practice of silent sitting, the discipline of negative space, or the pause before solution? Tell me which number aligns with your reality. I read them. I do not need applause. I need truth. We will return to the final insights soon. But first, understand the common trap. Many people attempt stillness and mistake boredom for failure. They sit for 10 minutes. They feel restless. They conclude the practice does not work. They return to the noise relieved. But restlessness is not failure. Restlessness is the dust settling. When you stir a glass of muddy water, the particles swirl. You cannot see the bottom. You must wait. The waiting feels like doing nothing. But the water is clearing. The mind operates the same way. The first wave of agitation is just the sediment dropping. Do not judge the stillness by how it feels in the first breath. Judge it by how it changes you over weeks. The shift is quiet. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with fireworks. It arrives as a subtle change in posture, a slower reaction to provocation, a lighter grip on outcomes. You stop fighting the current. You learn to float. Remember the example with the emperor Incarnatum. He did not write his thoughts to impress history. He wrote to steady his hand. The void was his workshop. He hammered out the unnecessary. He kept only what could bear weight. That is your task now. Not to accumulate wisdom. Not to collect insights. To remove the excess. To trust the space that remains. The insight I promised at the beginning is simple. It is also difficult. You do not need to find your purpose. You do not need to chase your passion. You need to stop blocking your own foundation. The emptiness you fear is the exact condition required for clarity. It is not a problem to solve. It is a tool to use. When you stop filling every gap, The mind begins to organize itself. Old patterns lose their grip. New choices appear without force. You stop reacting to the surface. You start reading the depths. This is not magic. It is mechanics. The brain requires downtime to consolidate experience. The nervous system requires quiet to reset its thresholds. The soul requires space to remember its shape. You have been taught to fear the blank page. But the blank page is where the true sentence forms. You have been taught to dread the silent room. But the silent room is where the honest voice returns. You have been taught to run from the void. But the void is the only place where you are actually standing on solid ground. Let it come. Let it stay. Do not dress it up. Do not apologize for it. Sit with it as you would sit with an old friend who has finally returned from a long journey. The journey is over. The silence is home. There will be days when the noise returns. There will be weeks when the armor feels heavy again. This is not failure. This is gravity. The world will pull you outward. It will demand your attention. It will offer you easy distractions. You can return to them. But now you know the alternative. You know the shape of the quiet. You know how to step back into the room when the crowd disperses. Do not try to master stillness. You are not meant to control it. You are meant to inhabit it. Like a riverbed does not command the water. Like a valley does not order the wind. You simply provide the shape. The rest flows naturally. This is the quiet path. It does not shout. It does not promise riches. It offers only what is real. Your prefrontal cortex literally severs its signal to your motor cortex when true stillness hits. It feels like paralysis, but it is actually a biological override that funnels raw nervous system control straight into the void.